So based off the latest chapter, chapter 266, where Nacht is teaching Asta how to command and truly utilize the devil's power at will, but in the process to do so, he has to defeat his anti-magic devil. So today I wanted to talk about the possible outcome if Asta defeat his anti-magic devil, what sort of new abilities Asta will have if he learns how to command his devil power at will and make it his own, which could lead to a new and more controlled anti-magic form. So let's talk about it. Now for starters, how does Asta truly tap into his anti-magic form? We learned in chapter 110 that Asta feels his own ki inside his body, while in the process, he circulates the anti-magic power through his body while holding the swords, which allows him to transform. So Asta needs the swords in order for him to transform. And since Asta has no mana, it only amplifies his body. So with the swords and the anti-magic power and Asta having no mana is a perfect match. Now, if we notice one thing way back when he first transformed in chapter 97, when he was fighting Ladros, he had one horn. This is when the first time the anti-magic devil tried to take over Asta's body and his mind. However, Asta resisted him, and when he took control of his anti-magic form, he had a clear mind. But mind you, in this state, this was still a premature form for Asta because he only had one devil horn and the anti-magic flow only took over his arm. It didn't take over his whole right side. Now, Asta during the elf arc has showed signs that he does have a limit to how long and how much he can use his anti-magic form, even though we know that he's much stronger now, but back then he had a limit. However, in that same arc, he surpassed his limits many times, and that moment was when him and Yuna was fighting Zagrid. Asta's anti-magic form got a lot darker and he grew a second devil horn, and his anti-magic flow was resonating with Zagrid's magic and also erasing it all around him. And from that point on, every time Asta got in his Black Asta mode, he always had two devil horns whenever he transformed. However, things started to change when Asta fought Dante back in chapter 242. When he seen Ghost get stabbed, we seen a little flashback of Asta's mom, which said, "My dear son," which is very symbolic for this moment because we seen that Ghost get stabbed in the chest, and in this panel of this flashback of Asta's mother, she also had a wound in her chest. So this definitely triggers something in Asta deep within his memories that he probably doesn't realize yet, but he snapped right after this, and we see the most demonic anti-magic form of Asta we have ever seen. Almost his entire face was covered in black. We see that he grew another devil horn, which makes 3. He grew an extra wing. He grew a devil tail. His entire right side, his whole arm was demonic, and his entire right leg was a devil's leg. This was the most anti-magic power that Asta has ever generated in his Black Asta mode. In this moment, he almost became the anti-magic devil himself. But the very impressive thing about it when Asta was in this form, even though Asta was bloodlusted at this moment, he was still able to telegraph and calculate Dante's attack, and that's how he was able to cut him. And the odd thing about this situation, when Asta lost to Dante at this moment, his anti-magic devil started to go crazy, saying things like, "You won't get away with this, I'll kill you." And Asta had no idea what exactly was going on, so it makes it seem as though Asta's anti-magic devil may have some sort of connection with his family, but we will save that for a whole different video. Now, when Asta joined in the fight to help Yami fight Dante, he asked his anti-magic devil for more power, and his anti-magic devil told him that he will be able to do it. He can show him the true power of a devil, but Asta has to give something up, and in return, Asta gave up his arm for more power. But if you notice, when Asta is in this form, he doesn't have 3 devil horns. He doesn't have an extra wing. He doesn't have an entire devil leg, and he doesn't have a devil tail. So this was a more controlled anti-magic form, but obviously when we seen he was bloodlusted, he was generating way more anti-magic and it was going wild. Now, how does these forms tie into the theory based off the latest chapter? Nacht tells Asta that he's not making full use of his devil power, despite the fact that his anti-magic devil told Asta that he would show him the true power of a devil. Nacht explains to Asta that by performing a devil binding ritual, you will make a contract with a devil and make its power your own. By doing a forbidden ceremony that puts the devil's power at your own command. The ritual requires a connection to the devil, and Nacht's connection to his devil is the 4 relics that he has on his neck, which allows him to summon his devil in the real world, but only temporarily. Now, this goes right back to when Dorothy stated, devils cannot appear in our world, they have to make a contract with them, but they only can use the devil's power in a limited way, unless they are an anomaly. Nacht somewhat falls into this category of anomalies because we seen his devil was actually on his shoulder and he was speaking, and then we seen in the captain's meeting, Nacht was able to summon 4 devils at will. which based on the latest chapter, the 4 relics that is on his necklace is a representation of that. And when it comes to Asta, Asta falls more into this category of anomalies because Nacht stated that his arm and his grimoire is already the connection to a devil, which allowed Nacht to easily perform this devil binding ritual to summon the anti-magic devil. But once he summoned him, he told Asta that he has to fight him and win, which will allow Asta, if he beats the anti-magic devil, he will be able to command the power at will. So I truly believe if Asta was to defeat the anti-magic devil, he wouldn't even need the swords to transform anymore. I think once he learns how to control and command the power at will, he wouldn't need to rely on his swords to transform. He can use it by the power that's already in his arm. That is the connection that he has with his devil. So in a way, Asta's arm and his grimoire are the relics in this case. Now, I mentioned this in my review, but in a way, this reminds me so much when Ichigo did his training fighting White Zangetsu, which is linked to his hollow powers. And we've seen many times in mid-battle where his battle would be interrupted while his White Zangetsu would take over his body and his hollow mask would show up and he would be speaking and it won't be Ichigo. One thing I can definitely see when Asta defeats his anti-magic devil, I can see that his anti-magic power, since he would be able to use it at his own command, him and his anti-magic devil will have some sort of a partnership and a deeper bond, even if it's good or bad. I can see in mid-fight when Asta is fighting, just like in Ichigo's situation, his anti-magic devil will probably start speaking as well, which in Nacht's situation, which is why it's not too far-fetched, his devil was speaking on his shoulder. This berserk form that Asta tapped into while fighting Dante, I believe that once he defeats his anti-magic devil, this will be a new variant of a transformation that he will be able to use, but even more deeper anti-magic. I believe that the anti-magic will allow him to cover up his whole entire body of it, because now that he will have the devil's power at his own command, he will be able to master it and control it. His potential new devil transformation will have the perfect kryptonite against Dante and the Dark Triad. When Asta was in his 3-horn form, he was utilizing his swords in a way which we have never seen before. Just by the swing of his sword, the anti-magic energy that was coming off his swords were like a whip and it was chasing down Dante. Dante had to constantly teleport because they were following him. So with this new potential transformation that Asta will obtain, I think it would just be more than a 3-horn Asta. I'm seeing Asta being able to circulate his entire anti-magic power through his entire body and he will look more like his anti-magic devil. So I see many devil horns when Asta obtained this new transformation, and I think it will look even more demonic when Majikila appeared in Vanika's body, but he was on the opposite side and he was speaking for her. And they were having an open conversation with each other. But in Asta's case, I can see that with his anti-magic devil, they will be having an open conversation with each other as well. And I think it's going to be really silly because I think we are going to see some hilarious moments of how Asta and his devil communicates. And I can't wait to see how the Black Bulls and everyone else reacts to this, and I know that Demetrio will probably pop a blood vessel seeing this. But overall, I'm excited to see Asta's training next chapter, how his devil will fight him, and how this is going to turn out. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it, comment your thoughts, and let me know what you think about this, and subscribe to the channel with notification bells on if you're new. Join my Discord, that's in the description. Follow me on Twitter, that's in the description as well. You guys have an awesome life. Take care of yourselves, and I'm out.